Show starts in 1 minute.
The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
The Black Widow. Welcome back. I think we were riding on that. We just fill in the holes until anyways. All right. Do we want to get into it? Do we want to start
let's
the show?
start.
Hi everybody. It's like Eeyore's in charge today.
Well,
What's going on over there?
Welcome everybody.
Yes, welcome. As always, yet another week. Here we are.
You know, and as you can hear, we don't have a third voice again this week because Christina is feeling under the weather, but she has every intention of coming back next week when we talk Godzilla versus Kong.
That's right. She needs to be well. I think she's just resting up. She's getting
gotta
ready
be
for that
resting
theater
up.
experience.
Yeah, I've been seeing some good buzz.
I don't want to see anything. I don't care. Like you said, you know, to a certain level, there's no way that this movie can be taken away from me in the sense that I'm primed. Give me bad reviews, I'll find a reason to still like it, I guess. So.
Although the one thing I'm hearing that I'm not liking too much is that it's lean and mean. It gets in and out. It's not a very long movie.
Maybe that's not a
bad thing, but I want as much monster action as you can.
Maybe that's
give
what we'll
me.
get, though. Not as many humans sitting around talking about what we're going to do. I do have to address this because it was asked, which is, I don't know. I guess I always thought this was a given, but somebody asked me the other day, do we watch the movies together? And I'm like, no. We're physically nowhere near each other.
No.
So it's not like
it has happened once or twice.
That's true. That is true. You and I were in the same theater twice last year.
But this was post-COVID, so we were not sitting together.
But we were still physically in there.
Yes, we were physically.
But no, we are all over the place. If anybody is not aware, we are across the eastern seaboard and inland. Christina's in Chicago, and Jim and I are both in different locations in New York. So, and the other thing is that we do not know what the other person thought of this movie when we hit record. So we don't share notes or give any tip of the hat as to how you're going to feel about this movie. So
yeah, it's not like a thing where we are working out what we're going to say. There's no script. This is all ad lib.
We're barely eking out what we're going to watch. There for a while we had a pretty extensive list, and now we're like scrambling.
This should be said right up front for listeners that listen to the end of the episode to hear what we're going to cover the following week. You didn't get that last
that's right,
week
we didn't tell you
because we didn't know.
That's how behind the eight ball we were.
Yeah. So we got to tell you, you probably have already looked at the episode title, so you have an idea. But for those that didn't, that just listened blindly, thank you, first of all. We are covering Psycho Gorman, which is a completely off-the-wall new sci-fi horror comedy.
Yeah, all the above.
Yep.
Yeah.
And along with it, maybe, too on the nose. Sometimes we are very on the nose with our pair-ups, but Wishmaster. 1997 horror film.
I will say this was a brilliant pairing on your behalf. I only wish that I had watched Wishmaster first.
Really? I also watched Psycho Gorman first.
But you had seen Wishmaster before?
No.
Oh, you've never seen it. This
No.
was wow, we went blind on this one.
Of course, it's one of these things in the genre that you're aware of, but I never had any great desire to see it.
Wasn't that the whole plot of Wonder Woman 84, by the way? Pedro Pascal, maybe he was just a djinn.
Maybe he was. Maybe there was some djinn magic going on there.
Yeah,
Wishmaster that would have been a perfect pairing with Wonder Woman 84.
There you go. If only we knew.
If only we knew.
No, I think that this was spot on. But again, we'll get into it, but you see where Psycho Gorman took some of this stuff and played with it, and they play it for kind of laughs. But Wishmaster is straight up serious. It takes itself a little too seriously.
It does.
But I wish I had seen it beforehand. Then I probably would have chuckled even more at the Gorman stuff. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Let's get into some news. You know, I'm still obsessed with this free Blockbuster. I went onto their website. I need to find someone who can get me one or two of these newsstand boxes, and we're going to brand it TMI. We'll get one in each of our locations, and we'll start spreading the love with some movies.
So we mentioned this in our news feature last week. Entrepreneurs out there, well, not even entrepreneurs, people that are just, this is just like a give some, get some kind of a thing, right?
Yeah. It's like freeblockbuster.org. And what people are doing is they're taking old school, well, anything they have some kind of a bin display, but most of them are like the newspaper dispensers that you see on the corner of Madison Avenue back in the day. I don't even think they have them anymore, but it's a free Blockbuster trade machine. You drop in DVDs, VHS, whatever, and then you
and hope somebody will leave something themselves so you can
right. Yeah. So I think the problem would be in where you could actually locate it. Like you can't just drop it in the middle of central of your town and not get some kind of a permit for it. I would think like you would have to get permission. We'll look into it. It's not
put it on your front lawn. How about that, Jeff?
Well, yeah, that's what I need in my driveway. People friggin' showing up all times of the night. You got any jujubes with that? Good news. We've talked about this with the movie theaters. Regal, last piece of the puzzle. They have just announced that they are reopening as of April 2nd, but it's going to be more like a soft opening. So probably the bigger markets first. I know for a fact mine down the street has absolutely nothing. It's completely shuttered up, and there's nothing on the website. There's nothing on location. So that seems like good news that most of our movie theaters are reopening. Just in time for Disney to pull Black Widow, drop it on Disney Plus.
Well, they're dropping it in both, right? Isn't that the model now? Yes,
correct. But up until a year ago, this was a completely symbiotic relationship. One, movie studios and movie theaters like fed off each other. You can't have one without the other. And then COVID comes along, and the studios are like, we don't need theaters. People don't want to leave their homes now. $30, this movie's yours. And that's unfortunately what's happening. And this is really scary, I think, for the theater model.
Even for someone like me who loves the theater going experience, there's a temptation there. I don't have to go out. I can just watch it.
And you can watch it whenever you want.
Yeah.
You're not adhering to a time schedule. Let me purchase it now, and then we'll sit down with the family later and watch it, make some popcorn. So it's good news, bad news. And not only that, Black Widow is now backed up till July.
Because it was May we
were counting down the days. All we had to do was fill it out so we could get to May. We got April. And so now we're going to be scrambling even more so with trying to find some content, new movies that are out there worthy of talking about.
Black Widow was the only thing of note coming out after Godzilla versus Kong.
There's one other Bob Odenkirk movie I thought that looked pretty good.
Oh, yes.
Called Nobody.
It's said to be like a John Wick type revenge pot boiler.
Which is hysterical when you put him in that context.
Yeah.
But listen, at one point we probably didn't think Keanu could pull it off either. So, yeah, that's interesting. And the only other news item I have, which is that Captain Marvel 2 and Ant-Man Quantumania both begin filming in May. So, new Marvel stuff is coming.
It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, there's quite a few releases scheduled from what I understand now for 2021 and 22.
Inundated.
Yeah. Every couple months, there's going to be something new.
Well, you know, right now you're sitting on Shang-Chi, Eternals, Black Widow. Those are 3 movies right there we know are in the can from last year.
Yeah. Doctor Strange is probably almost finished, if not finished. Yes,
that was in production. You got Spider-Man 3, No Way Home.
Also in production.
Supposedly dropping in December.
Supposedly, yes. I'd like to see that date happen. Right. Fingers crossed.
And then we got to finish out Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we have Loki coming. So there's a lot. That's crazy. So I did hear that you saw Justice League.
I did.
The Zack Snyder cut.
You know, I didn't pay much attention to the theatrical version of Justice League. So
you're not alone.
So I just got the barest understanding of the plot, something
I don't
about
remember
mother
the plot
boxes.
whatsoever. Yeah.
If I never hear the term mother box again, I'll be okay.
Was it completely removed from this movie, or are there mother boxes?
No, there's mother boxes everywhere.
Yeah, wow. That sounds
These
naughty.
you're inundated with mothers in this movie, and they're not all named Martha. So Justice League, 4 hours long. It did take me 2 nights. I was surprised that I was able to digest it in 2 nights. I thought it would take me all week
I was going to
watch
say
this thing.
that's fortitude for you.
What you hear about it is completely true. It is
What I hear.
firmly a Zack Snyder movie. I think I read that 10% of the overall film is in slow motion. There is a lot of slow motion going on.
Well, you gotta pad out that 4 hours, right?
Yeah. So Steppenwolf does not sing "Born to Be Wild."
I was gonna say I think I have one of his albums.
Yeah. So I was disappointed with that. He didn't offer up his biggest hit in this movie.
They couldn't afford it.
It's like you go to see Steppenwolf and he's playing everything but his biggest hit.
Yeah, that's because all the money went to removing Cavill's mustache.
Oh, I saw some screen grab. I didn't even notice that watching Justice League, the theatrical cut the first time, but saw some screen grabs from it.
Stuff like this becomes a thing.
Yeah. It does feel epic, and I liked it. I have to say that I really did. Going into it, not really, caring much way or the other about the original theatrical cut, nor Man of Steel, nor Superman versus Batman, or Batman versus Superman, sorry. But saying that, I enjoyed the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. It was epic. There were things I didn't like about it, the slow motion being one of them. It was very self-important. There wasn't a lot of humor. It took itself very seriously. It served it well, I think, to take the subject matter seriously. I had no memory of Darkseid being in the theatrical cut.
I don't think he is. And
he is like the main big bad in this.
Yeah.
So he's pulling the strings behind Steppenwolf. It's very much like a Loki and Thanos thing in Avengers, but it's Darkseid from the get-go in this. It's not like a surprise at the end.
You know what's funny here? You say his name because for years I always read it as Darkseid.
I did as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of words. There's a lot of words I mispronounced, but a lot of words that I learned reading comic books.
I probably would be saying Darkseid unless I heard it a million times.
Well, that's
Justice League is Darkseid.
Darkseid, which makes sense.
Yes.
But as a kid, I did not read it like that.
So, and you also get, because the mother boxes are, not to hijack the show with Justice League, but there's 3 mother boxes, right? And apparently you need these 3 mother boxes to have the unity. And what the unity does is it turns a planet into Apocalypse, which is Darkseid's home planet. So he comes and makes planets like his own. I don't know if he wants to vacation on these places or what his ultimate goal is by doing this.
He's like one of those flippers. He just comes into town.
He flips a planet.
Yeah, there you go.
So the mother boxes create the unity. And this is told to us in a voiceover by Wonder Woman, who knows all about the mother boxes because there was an attempted invasion by Darkseid in the ancient times. So what's the island that Wonder Woman lives on? Themyscira?
Themyscira. That's another one I butchered.
Yeah. The Amazons, the Atlanteans, and even the old Greek gods, including Ares, who Wonder Woman fights in the first movie, and Zeus, who looking exactly like Gerard Butler, I might add, in 300. Nice. They all team up and repel Darkseid. They kick his ass so thoroughly in the beginning battle that he forgets where Earth is. They beat it out of him.
Just knocked him for a loop.
And so each of these,
they knocked him into tomorrow.
So Atlantis, and then Themyscira, and then Man, each take each of these mother boxes and hide them. And when Man hides it, I think maybe they were suggesting that King Arthur had it because it was like, knights or something. They bury it, but like 2 feet underground. I'm like, can you do a better job than that?
Even Psycho Gorman was deeper than that.
Psycho Gorman was deeper than that. Yeah. So that's the setup. And of course, once Darkseid sends out his minions looking for these mother boxes, and Steppenwolf comes to Earth because one of them gets activated somehow. No, because of the death of Superman in Batman versus Superman.
Oh, interesting.
One of them activates because that sends shockwaves over the universe, and Steppenwolf hears it and comes after it, hoping to please dark side. And that is the gist of Justice League.
So in other words, I have to find a friend down the street who has HBO Max, and I should check this out.
You should check it out, yeah. And there is a coda. I don't want to spoil it. A coda at the end of the film. This is where a coda, happens.
That's
for those of you that don't know.
Shows up.
And it's probably the highlight of the movie. So
Are they teasing
a
a potential sequel?
Absolutely. And
yeah, well, then you're not getting it because
I
I already read that Warner said they are not continuing with the Zack Snyder universe here.
It's never going to happen, but you got to hang in. If you're watching Justice League, hang in for the final, 10, 15 minutes.
Wow.
And you won't be disappointed. Okay. The highlight of the film.
The studio execs are sitting around right now. Let's put the code at the beginning of the movie. Let's hook them right from the beginning.
But I read something before we recorded today that there are determined Zack Snyder fans out there that are spamming this site where Godzilla versus Kong is, where you can actually leave 4 or 5-star reviews before the thing is even open. The Snyder fans are spamming it, giving Godzilla versus Kong 1 star in protest to Warner Brothers not continuing with the Snyder universe.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you.
You people, get a life.
I know.
You haven't even seen it.
If you're going to do it on a movie, do not do it on Godzilla versus Kong.
That's right. Just for that, now I don't want to watch the damn movie.
Because
now I'm going to protest.
Snyder fans.
All right.
I was surprised. I went into it thinking I wasn't going to like it at all, and did a good job.
That's usually when that's the way to go in. You just be a pessimist there.
Yeah.
This movie's going to suck. All right. So speaking of bad, Psycho Goreman. This has been on our radar for a couple months now. And I pushed really hard because a lot of my friends on social media were like lauding this, that it defied expectations, as you just said, with Justice League, but that it was just a fun ride. So I think I finally wore Jim down and made Tina sick. So that's why she's not here. So
this thing has future cult movie written all over it.
Oh, yes.
And maybe that was its intent.
I felt like Troma Films would have made this.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, if Troma had made a Power Rangers movie, I mean, some of the costumes are just, you can tell that they're plastic and they're, waving in the wind.
Guy in suit kind of things.
Yes, correct. Which I'm not taking anything away from it because I absolutely enjoyed this. This was so bonkers and so that crazy. It
kind of disguises itself as a kid's movie up front, but you realize quickly that it's not, because the two main characters are children that are pre-teen children.
Let's be right up front. The little girl, Mimi, she is the real psycho in this movie.
She is.
And I cannot decide if she is the greatest actor of all times or the worst actor of all times. You do not like this character.
No, and that was after we watched this. My wife and I were having the discussion, and she really liked the character of Mimi because it was a strong female.
Strong, but to what end though? She was a bully to her brother. But that's the thing,
is that I was okay at the beginning. I was down with her. Okay, so this is different. So the sister is the dominant one between the siblings here.
And it looks like she's the younger one too. She's younger.
Yeah. And she completely bullies her slightly older brother, Luke. So these are the two characters, Mimi and Luke, brother and sister.
Yep.
And they are playing a made-up game of crazy ball in their yard.
The minute I saw this, I am like, this is so off the wall crazy. I said, I want to know the rules. And then later in the movie, they try to explain it.
But it's like hearing the rules of Quidditch. You're like, this makes no sense.
No, but it's obviously a made-up game between these two characters. And it's just, it's silly. It's silly stuff, but it's like the kids are out in the mud and they're just having a blast. And I will say I thought that the directing on this was pretty spot on. It does not take itself seriously at all.
For me, that was to its detriment because it felt like you were watching a lark from the beginning to end.
Well, that's what I was saying. I wish that I had seen Wishmaster first, because like Gorman literally steals the opening, the in the dark ages or whatever, and the type comes up.
The time before time. I think they use that phrase in both.
Yeah, it is. It is a direct homage, I guess, to Wishmaster. But again, if I had seen the original first Wishmaster and then saw what they were doing to kind of spoof it and make fun of it, I would have. But you get it. You get this whole backstory with this character from the planet Gygax. He's unspeakable evil and all this stuff, but
and he apparently he doesn't have a name before the kids name him. He says
there was numerous
I've gone by
names
many names. The Archduke of Nightmares was the big one.
Yeah, Shadow Slammer. And then they have this great sequence where they try and come up with a name for him. But we're already getting ahead of ourselves because part of Crazy Ball involves digging a giant hole.
If you lose. No, I think she actually said that he had to dig his own grave.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay. And he's like, is this where Grandma was buried? Yeah. She goes, I told you, Grandma's in hell forever.
So let's get back to Mimi and Luke. So these two siblings here. So I was saying before how my wife enjoyed Mimi because she was a strong female character, the little sister that is not the one that's tagging around, that it's the brother that's doing the tagging. So roles are reversed. But as you're saying, Jeff, I didn't like her because I thought at the beginning, I was thinking the same thing. Okay, this is going to be pretty cool because she is the one that's carrying the movie. Yep. But she is so unlikable. She is so mean. She is so hateful.
And you feel for Luke. I mean, yeah, again, I don't care much for him either because he was such a spineless worm. But then you see the relationship between the parents, and it's the exact same thing. The mom just berates the dad, and the dad is just this loser.
Because what's funny, at the beginning, I thought that they were playing that relationship for laughs because I didn't think that the dad was seriously that bad. And then as the movie goes on, it's like he is just a scumbag. And I'm like, I don't like anybody in this movie.
No. At this point, you're rooting for Gorman to kill them all. But yeah, you get this whole backstory with him and that he's this omnipotent creature that just goes across the universe and has his way with everybody. And unfortunately, he runs into some Christian missionaries who are trying to convert his planet to Judaism or something.
So that was the interesting thing. So as you said, he comes from the planet Gygax, and he is a former slave on this planet because these missionaries, as you just mentioned, the Templars, I believe that they're called.
Oh, yeah. They didn't stray too far from it.
So they come and kind of take over his planet and enslave the population. And he's a slave until he finds this gem, which empowers him.
Which is, if I remember correctly, pretty much the origin of Apocalypse in X-Men. Maybe not in the cinematic version, but in the comic version, very similar.
And like his chest opens and consumes the gem, and it becomes part of him. And then it's
convoluted, but it's nice to look at. And you talk about the fact that it kind of disguises itself as a little bit of a kid's film, but there's some serious gore going on here.
And it is completely over the top gore as well.
Yeah, like I said, like trauma. Like you go back to some of those old school trauma films, and you're just somebody went to the costume designers at Guar and they're like, build us a couple aliens here.
Yeah. And the dictum is probably, let's make this as bloody and slimy as we can.
But having said that, which my wife does not like gore, I'm not a big fan of, horror or anything like this. We laughed numerous times throughout this movie.
Oh, I'll give it that. There are some real gems.
And there's times where I actually had to pause just so I could write down because there are some zingers in here. And when basically the kids find this gem, Gorman climbs his way out and there's a sequence where he attacks a bunch of bums. And I'm like, this is like straight up out of Terminator. He just shows up and levels them all. So you get it right away, what a badass he is. But when the kids realize that they can control him, that's when hilarity ensues. Because
Mimi is not having any of his threats because she realizes that as long as she holds that gem,
he tells her that, like point up, like he's like, oh, whoever possesses that gem controls me. Oh, thank you very much. I was just going to give it back to you.
Yeah.
But now I got a monster.
So the reason that the gem is on Earth is because what were they called?
What's that? The
Gygax jury, whatever they were.
Yeah, it was like
a Planetary Alliance. That was it.
Oh, was that what it was? I didn't get that. It was like a council or something. There was some cool puppetry going on there.
There was.
Like I said, they were Power Ranger level bad guys.
All these different aliens make up the Planetary Alliance, and somehow, along with the Templars, they defeat Psycho Gorman and they imprison him in this stone, which the gem is kind of like the cap of. and they bury it on Earth, which happens to be where Mimi and Luke's house is in their
And
yard.
grandma, potentially.
So after this game of Crazy Ball, which Mimi wins, or maybe she doesn't win, but she just tells Luke that she wins.
Right.
She makes him dig his own grave, which he does, and that's how they unearth this stone and gem, which Psycho Gorman is trapped in. And that's how he's released. So the kids track him the next day to the warehouse, and this is where hilarity ensues.
And this is the, you know, where you see the ineptitude of the parents. Like, they're like, the next morning, it's like, who's going to fill this in? And they're all voting for Dad. Dad picks up the shovel and immediately, oh, my hand, I can't do it. But yeah, the relationship between these parents is just very unsettling, to say the least.
The scene where Dad makes dinner for everyone when he puts the microwave,
right.
when he puts the chicken in the microwave,
You know,
and then the
special,
mom.
oh, because Alistair, their friend comes over, Alistair. He's like, you like my special chicken? He goes, yeah, what'd you do? Huh? Throw it in the microwave.
It's in the microwave. And then the mom a little bit later opens the microwave, and it's like the chicken had exploded. So there's like barbecue sauce everywhere.
It was disgusting. Yeah. Remember when that gremlin went into the microwave? That's what it looked like.
That's what it looked like. And the mom's like, who's going to clean out the microwave? And he's like, you would make me clean out the microwave after making such a dinner for my family? Right. And then he says, there's a close-up of his face, you're welcome. And tears almost start to come out of his eyes.
This actor was like so often, again, not likable. There's not a single person in this movie that you care about. But when they introduce Alistair to Psycho Gorman, which is the name they came up, there's this whole sequence where they're trying to come up with names for him. And they bring him some magazines and they bring him to TV so he can watch. Because he's like in this abandoned shoe factory.
That's what they called it, a shoe
factory.
That
looks like it's like right behind their back door. Because later in the movie, they run away with him. And I'm like, Luke will know immediately where they're taking him. There's only one other location in this whole movie. He was belittling Mimi as a human. He was looking through the magazines. And, the fact that we're vain or whatever. She goes, but there's hunky boys in there. And he's like, I do not like hunky boys. And then it just kind of lays on him for a minute of the camera. And he goes, or do I? I lost my... And later in the movie, that actually comes back where he's like, I do like hunky men, boys.
You know, my favorite line in the movie was when they bring Alistair in to meet him. And Alistair actually says to Psycho Gorman, nice to meet you. And Psycho Gorman says back, it would be nice if you were dead.
Right. But that's the kind of repertoire that he's throwing out there. At one point they're asking him, who he was or where he came from. And he just starts launching into this tale. It's a tale bathed in the blood of a million dead memories. And they get bored and just like after 2 minutes. And you get this great, action sequence. And then the kids just cut it short because they don't want to hear him anymore.
Yeah. It's like their dad telling stories,
Right,
it's like,
right.
Oh, here it comes again.
But this is where he mentions his hordes, which are the paladins of Sidion. These are like his apocalypse. These are like his four horsemen.
One of the funny things about this is that he can speak his mind, but he can't act against the kids. So he spends all of his time insulting them and telling them how he is going to torture and kill them without being able to do so because they have complete control. But
meanwhile, Mimi is use him as a toy. Here, pick up my brother and spin him around. Now kill him. I'm joking. Stop. And Luke, you can just see Luke. He's like a freaking puppy that's been beat too many times. He just, it doesn't take anything for this poor kid to flinch.
And then poor Alistair, after he comes to dinner, and he would rather go play video games with Luke than hang out with Mimi, she asks Psycho Gorman, hey, can you make him more adorable or obedient, or I forget exactly how she worded it. But he turns poor Alistair into like a crawling brain for the rest
with big
of the
googly
movie.
eyes and tentacles. He needs the gem back, and what we didn't mention in the Alien Council is that they now know that he's back. He's back, and they need to take care of him. And this is where Pandora, who's this Robotech-looking angel robot warrior kind of a thing, but she's one of the
Templars.
She's one of the Templars. And she goes to Earth to basically try and take him out.
There's another sequence in here, which makes up the midpoint of the film, where his gang, his four horsemen, as you'd called them, are called out because he uses the TV that the kids bring to him to call out to them.
Yes, he uses it to communicate.
And he wants to be rescued or, to get the gem back from Mimi. So they come down And a great turnaround. It turns out they're exactly like the Flag Smashers from Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Yeah.
They like the
yeah,
world.
we kind
They
of like it
their
better when you weren't
existence.
around.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he has a big, knockdown, drag out fight with his gang, which he completely decimates them. And he gives one of them the most honorable death he can think of, which is eating his opponent.
And that was actually a pretty cool sequence too, because his maw just opens like a giant basking shark. And I will say, the special effects wise, like I said, they're cheesy, but it all works in the context of the movie. You just buy into this B-level artistry. The acting's not really up there. The special effects are not really up there. And it's just so over the top.
The real turning point comes after he, fights his gang, because they've poisoned their blades and weapons with his own blood, apparently.
Yes.
And that works against him. So after the battle, even though he's victorious and he manages to eat one of them, and he actually tells Mimi, you cannot unsee this, what you've just seen, after I've opened my maw.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
At one point, I think during that whole fight sequence, Luke says, how long is this going to go on for? And I'm like, I'm wondering the same thing, kid.
Yeah.
Like, what? When he was fighting all these guys, they all had named Cassius 3000 or whatever. He was like a robot with a robot bird. But I thought he called one of them Wishmaster. And I'm like, there's our tie-in. But it was a witch.
It was Witchmaster. Yeah.
Witchmaster.
Yeah, it was Witchmaster.
Yeah. But
and that poor robot, he ripped the face off that
I know.
robot.
And there was like another one that just looked like a meat grinder. Like his whole power was shooting blood out of his arm. There was, I don't know what was going on there.
So he's mortally wounded during this battle. And at the same time, the mom and dad are having a knockdown drag out at home.
Right.
And dad, goes to console himself on the toilet. And he suddenly
because she calls him a lazy.
Yep.
My dad called me lazy. My mom called me lazy. And now you call me lazy. It's like,
so he goes to console himself on the toilet, and he suddenly gets a striking vision of Psycho Gorman. Come get me.
Right. This is actually hysterical. He's like, I'm mortally wounded. I need your help. He's like, I don't know where you are. And then he comes back and he's like, we're on the corner of 34th and 7th. I don't know where that is. Take it right when you come out of your house and go back down the street.
So the dad picks up Psycho Gorman, and they put him in the back of the pickup. And from this point on, this is where we get the Templar coming down to Earth.
Yes, and she's taken over somebody's body.
She's taken over somebody's body, but then
like some.
That was terrible, that scene
right. So that goes back to the Alien Council, where they bring a human who's a woman, and you're just like, what's this for? And then she just compresses her into a cube and then eats it. Yeah, and I'm like, what is the purpose of this? But obviously, she ate her essence and was able to transform into this woman.
So the end of the film is like the family being split into two factions. One is on Team Gorman and the other is on Team Pandora. So
or do we just call them Team Hero and Team Suck?
Luke, Mom, and Pandora against Dad, Mimi, and Psycho Gorman.
Right, because they get back to the house. He has Gorman in the back of the truck. And that's when Pandora's waiting there with Mom. And she's like, you need to get out of this truck right now, Greg. Once again, just talking down to him. And he finally grows a little bit of a backbone. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And so they drive away. But as Pandora's trying to explain to them that this is a monster that needs to be destroyed and that he will put you in endless servitude. And Greg looks at the wife and he goes, endless servitude? Sounds like being married to you, Susan. And then drives away. So, but Pandora basically gives Mom a drink and she becomes one of these winged warriors.
She becomes a Templar.
Yeah.
So Mom becomes a Templar in this battle. And so the end battle becomes a game of Crazy Ball because this apparently
a genius callback.
The challenge that is made to Psycho Gorman or something has to be like a game of whoever's choosing. So it's just a way that the plot brings us back to Crazy Ball. So the two teams compete against each other. So Mimi just descends into madness at this point because she is completely on a power trip with the gem. And Luke realizes that she's been corrupted and he steps up finally and gets his hand on the gem. As this is going on, Mimi wins. They realize that Psycho Gorman needs the gem in order to survive. And they realize that Pandora is not the good guy that
Correct. Yeah.
she seems to be either. They give Psycho Gorman the gem back, and that allows him to regain his power, and he defeats
This was
Pandora.
after they had another song, by the way.
Yes.
They break into song. She breaks into song, "Frig you, frig me."
Yep.
What is going on?
So at least they didn't go there. They weren't making the kids actually spout profanities in this.
But the great thing is when he gets his power back, he has this little tete-a-tete with the family as Dad high fives him and immediately breaks his wrist. But they're all beat up. Mom gets converted back. Gorman is just like, you people have taught me a lot. You taught me that the power of love comes from within. And Luke's like, what? That's not the point at all. So stupid.
So he agrees. He said, okay, I'm still going to destroy the galaxy, but I will spare you. I will spare your family. And I don't need the gem anymore. I will destroy the galaxy with love.
Yeah. And then he opens up a portal using mother boxes and starts destroying Earth.
Which was a cool scene because immediately he goes to their town as a giant and starts to destroy the town.
Yeah.
So it begs the question, what is going to be left, even if he does allow the family to survive?
And then the family has this, well, we learned a lot today, kids. It's just like, what did we learn? You're all unlikable.
And then the last scene is Alistair with his family eating dinner. They don't even notice that he's a giant brain.
That he's a giant brain. So he never gets turned back. I did read that the actress who played Pandora also plays his mom in that little end credit scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because you never see a human face.
I would assume, I guess I would have assumed that the lady she becomes would have been the same actress who played her in costume.
Who played her in the costume,
right,
yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, completely unlikable characters. But I think that you get just this taste of this backstory of this character, Psycho Gorman, and I'm like, this would make a great video game or like some kind of a comic series. Like I would be so in on it. I mean, just visually, there was a lot going on there.
The over the topness of the film spoke to you, right? You were into it. It kind of repelled me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I thought it was it was just going for shock value, especially the scene with like that didn't really seem to mean anything, where Mimi like breaks the crucifix. I'm like, what is this trying to say?
Yeah,
like,
I don't know. All of a sudden she's talking to God. Yeah,
I'm like, are you trying to offend everyone now, or
I agree with you that there's the cops are bumbling idiots, and one thing we didn't even talk about is that one of the cops, Psycho Gorman, melts his face, and then he becomes like their sidekick, and he's like wandering through the woods with them, and he's trying to shoot himself to put himself out of his misery. He's writing notes to Mimi. Kill me
please. Yeah.
Kill me now. And she's like, what is this?
So I never was a fan of the trauma films. Yeah. So this didn't speak to me either.
I can't say that I was. I mean, I was exposed to them because I was in college and somebody had one on at all hours of the day. But I wasn't like a huge fan, like Toxic Avenger. It's not like I'm going out of my way to watch it. But for whatever reason, I found this silly. I found this just enjoyable on a Saturday afternoon. And like I said, for my wife to sit there and to watch with me and to laugh at all these same jokes. Oh my God. So.
Yeah, my wife liked it as well, but much more than I did. If you watch this film, you will laugh. And I laughed out loud a number of times, but it was like empty calories. I didn't feel like I had any connection to it.
No, but like I said before, I think if you're familiar with like some of those 90s, like Wishmaster and some of these other goofy kind of over the top horror movies, like I think maybe you'd appreciate it even more because they do kind of, it's not full on farce, but they do kind of poke fun at some of that stuff.
It was originally scheduled to be released in March of 2020. Of course, everything got interrupted, but it was going to debut at South by Southwest. That didn't happen. And it finally came out in January 2021, streaming, and I guess in some limited theaters, perhaps. But here's the thing. Here's the kicker, that there is a Canadian restaurant called Lester D's Real Diner, which is in the movie restaurant.
There's a scene in the movie.
And the movie is Canadian as well. So this place is in Ontario. And they have come out with a Psycho Gorman, their version of the Happy Meal. So you can get a cardboard Psycho Gorman activity box, is what they call it. And there are 2 collectible glasses, one with the Psycho Gorman character and one with the Pandora character. So
that made me want to see it even more.
digest that for a second. And unfortunately, there is only one Lester D's location that I could find online, and that's in Ontario. So anybody that's Canadian and in that area, please go if you're a fan of Psycho Gorman, because you can get
I would love an activity box and glasses.
yeah.
People will be like, what is
Even
this?
though I didn't
You
like
don't
the
know
movie that
Psycho
much,
Gorman?
I would want that as well.
Right? That just made me like, wait a minute. There's a restaurant out there that's selling Happy Meals of these characters. So do we want to go buckets? You're gonna be low.
I'm going to be low. I would give it probably, because it made me laugh, I'm going to go 2 3/4.
Okay, fair enough. Listen, 3 is pretty decent for you,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna go 3.5.
3.5.
I
That's
enjoyed
pretty
it.
good.
I enjoyed it.
So
yeah.
let us go to the concession stand, and we will be right back with Wishmaster.
Golden, pure creamery butter, rich, flavorful, satisfying. That's what it takes for the finest buttered popcorn, and that's what we use. See for yourself why there's no Showtime treat to equal the crisp, delicious flavor of hot popcorn that's bathed in real melted butter. It's at the concession stand now.
All right, we're back, and we are talking Wishmaster.
I wish I had seen this first.
I wish I had seen this in the 90s. This is like the quintessential 90s movie.
Yeah, which I'm not a fan of at all. I will say though, I was very disappointed. I rented it. It was $2.99 or $3.99
I think
on
it was
Amazon
$3.99.
Prime. It was in standard. The production value was Yiddish.
No, yeah, it was not very clear, and I thought
No.
maybe it was my connection at the time, but I guess not.
No, it was the movie itself. It was only in standard definition. I guess no one ever went back to remaster it.
I guess not. I wonder.
Someone
I know
should've
it's on
wished
DVD, but it's probably not much better.
Can I just ask who wished for the other 14 sequels?
There are 3 sequels to this.
Oh, is it only 3? I'm just
that
looking
seems-
online. It's like Wishmaster 1, Wishmaster 2, more wishes. Wish we had stopped. Keep wishing.
We do get a time before time introduction narrated by
Very-
Angus Scrimm.
The name. Okay, so again, we'll talk about the fact that I'm not a big horror fan, but the names that kept popping up in this thing, or the faces that I was familiar with. I mean, you got Angus Scrimm, who we've talked about in Phantasm, Robert Englund, Ted Raimi, Reggie Bannister. So I got a story to tell you about that when we get there. But the Nicoteros, Greg and Frank.
Candyman is
and
in there.
Tony Todd.
And yeah, you just said Kane Hodder, who is Jason from the
Right.
Friday the 13th
Yep.
movies.
And then Tom Savini. I recognize the name, but I'm not.
He's the makeup guru. His claim to fame was the first Dawn of the Dead in 1978, and he's
Okay.
dominated makeup ever since then. And I think Nicotero probably took the reins from him, and is
So,
probably could be considered the modern day Tom Savini.
So these names alone, if you're familiar at all with some of this horror stuff, you're just like, this is like a cavalcade of stars.
I know the makers
Brought-
of this had connections. In
Brought
the
to you
horror
by Wes
industry.
Craven Presents. So I guess he executive produced it.
Yeah.
And it was directed by Kurtzman. I was like, damn, all right. But again, it opens up with that monologue, Fear the Jinn.
Yeah, so we get an opening that you see in ancient Persia. It's established that these jinn, these genies, walk in limbo between earth and the heavens. It's not like these are genies in a lamp. So you get
Or a
this
bottle.
prologue of an ancient king in Persia who has unleashed one of these jinns.
Was that Jafar?
It was Jafar, I think it was. And Iago was there too on his shoulder.
That's right.
So, but the thing is that the jinn wants you to make 3 wishes. Whoever releases him from wherever he's imprisoned at the time, if you make 3 wishes, on the 3rd wish, you just open up the portal so his fellow jinn can take over the world. So that's what
Saying-
happens on your 3rd wish. So he's constantly trying to get you to make wishes, and each wish empowers him even more.
Again, Pedro Pascal.
In this case, just like in Wonder Woman, you have to give something in order to get your wish granted.
Yeah,
and
usually it's your spinal cord by the 3rd wish.
usually it's your spinal cord or your face or something.
Right.
And the wish that you're granted is not
It's-
really
yeah,
what you
it's-
wished for. In a
right.
roundabout way, it is.
That's
but
your
not
wish
in the way
from a
you
certain
thought.
point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this opening sequence is just like an FX sizzle reel. It is just bonkers. You've got skeletons ripping themselves out of fleshy meat. You got the chest burster from Aliens. You got Solo and Carbonite. You got all kinds of crazy stuff going
Because
on
the
there.
king asks, his wish is, show me something spectacular that I've never seen before.
Right?
Okay.
So all these people, you got Ray Harryhausen skeletons running around, and I mean, it is chaos. And you're just like, these guys they probably like their entire budget went to this opening sequence.
And it shows you just how, what this djinn is capable of.
And you figured 97, this had to have been, I mean, this is all practical.
Well, I
most
think that
part,
skeleton looked pretty CG to me.
I actually got a little stop motion feel for it.
You think so? You think so?
Yeah, I would have to do some research, but again, we've got enough talent there in the back. The Nicoteros alone have cut their teeth on stuff like this, walking into Walking Dead.
So at the end of this sequence, when you see the king's court, breaking out into mutants, and as you said, there's one scene where a skeleton rips itself out of a human body. It's just over the top.
Yeah.
And the wizard of the court is running through, and he realizes what's happening, that the djinn is evil. So he runs to the king, and the djinn is on one side of the throne, whispering in his ear, "What is your third wish, Majesty? What is your third wish?"
I would like a gin and tonic.
The wizard was this guy like a wizard or a priest?
Wizard of
Id. What his role was, but he's like, "Don't, Your Majesty, do not make the third wish, or this will be unleashed the world over." He's making no secret about it. Yes, it will. Wish, Your Majesty, wish.
Did he have a hat on? He's a sorcerer. He doesn't have a hat, but as a wizard has. As we learned in Falcon.
Oh, did you get that one guy that was turning into a snake? Remember that movie called
Damn straight I do. Dirk Benedict is in that.
I was like, that
movie
looks
freaked
straight
me
up
out.
Dirk
That
Benedict.
movie freaked me out as a kid.
We need to do that movie. We need to cover that movie.
Let's do it. It's gotta be. It's probably on Shudder.
I don't think it is, but I think we can find it. I
thought it was Hiss for the longest time, but I think it's just a lot of S's.
Yeah, there's a specific amount of S's. So the third wish is not granted. The djinn ends up being imprisoned in this red jewel, which is hidden inside a statue of the king, who does not make the third wish. And so then we get fast forwarded to 1997, where the statue of this king is being offloaded from a ship.
And takes out Ted Raimi in 30 seconds.
Because the crane operator is drunk. He spills coffee.
We don't know that at the time, do we?
We just think he's inept.
Inept, yeah. And you got Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger himself. He's the guy
that's ordered the statue.
The curator or whatever. Yeah, he is waiting for this thing to be unloaded, and they watch it snap and plummet.
Ted Raimi. And so the crane operator, he's familiar to horror fans, Joe Pilato. Now, he's from a movie we have not watched yet on the show. The third film in the George Romero zombie trilogy, Day of the Dead. So he's well known to zombie fans, Joe Pilato, as the crane operator.
All right. So this is just a little Easter eggs all over the place.
It is.
Yeah.
So Ted Raimi gets squashed. The statue breaks open all over the dock. And a scumbag dock worker sees the jewel roll out, and he steals it. The gem makes its way to an auction house, which is where Alex works. Alexandra, as we know her later on in the movie.
And her boy, well, her friend, is it Justin?
Josh, I think.
Josh, Justin. Doesn't matter.
So what kind of friend is constantly trying and unabashedly trying to get into her pants?
Yeah, no, this is... extreme. She's like, I just want to be friends, and then she gives him the speech, and I'm like, that is Chevy Chase's speech directly from Caddyshack. Be the ball. Like, she was just giving him this kind of pep talk. But yeah, no sooner does she leave, he's in the lab investigating the gem, and the whole place blows up, and out comes the genie.
Now, this is another interesting cameo. because when he comes out of the gym for the first time, he's like a squished, like Voldemort looked at the end of the last Harry Potter
I thought
movie.
he was like one of the Mars Attacks Martians that just got burned.
So he's like a little baby Jin because he's like all scrunched down because maybe he's been caught in this little gem and he needs to grant a wish in order to become.
And do you know who that was, right?
It was Vern Troyer.
Vern Troyer. I guess Warwick Davis was busy that day.
Mini-Me from the Austin Powers movies plays the little version of the
We
Jin.
lost that man, so that's too bad.
So Josh is like mortally wounded after this gem explodes. The little Jin crawls across the floor and says, "Do you wish me to end your pain? Just say it. Just say it." He says yes, and it doesn't really seem to end his pain. So that wish, I think, didn't come to its fruition.
Yeah, but meanwhile, that entire lab blew up, and yet somehow the phone was still on the hook. Because then the phone ring or something, I don't know what's going on.
Speaking of phone ringings, there are so many jump scares that don't amount to anything in this movie. So if you're watching this with the volume turned up, you will jump.
But this is where we get introduced to Reggie Bannister. He's the pharmacist. We know him from Phantasm. I'm going to tell you the weirdest thing. So yesterday was a beautiful day. We had the doors open. We were outside working all day. I'm watching this movie. The minute he shows up on screen, an ice cream truck drives down my road with the music playing. And I thought it was in the movie that they were giving him a little homage. I actually had to pause and explain that to my wife, who he was and why that was so significant.
How funny is that?
I thought that was so bizarre.
I wonder if that happens for anybody that watches a movie with him in it. An ice cream truck will drive by, guaranteed, even in winter.
Reggie's watching you. Oh, he's watching.
So the genie is granting these wishes all over town. And of course, he's like stealing souls in return. And he's only doing this to garner his strength. But the only person that he can grant 3 wishes to open up the apocalypse is Alexandra, because she is the one that unknowingly released him from the gem. Yes, but she didn't really, because it was Josh that did.
Well, she blew on. She in order to clean it, right? And she rubbed it like a genie lamp.
But he was still trapped in there.
I don't know. Maybe he was just biding his time.
So whenever he grants a wish to gain a little bit of power, he's somehow tied to her. So you see her react whenever he grants one of these wishes.
Well, we talk about the other movie that there was not many likable characters. There's not many likable characters in this one either. I didn't really care for Alex.
Now, she's played by Tammy Lauren, who did a cavalcade of shows, TV shows in the 80s. So she does have a familiar face, and I couldn't place her, so I looked her up. She was on Fantasy Island, Mork and Mindy, Chips, Facts of Life, Little House on the Prairie, Family Ties. The list goes on.
And those are all like 80s TV shows.
They were. So I think
this was like the tail end in 90s.
So probably she wasn't that. She's very young in this movie, and this was 97. So she was probably a child actress or a teen actress in the 80s. Huh.
Yeah. At one point, she says something like it's like something going on that's bad, and I'm like, yeah, it's this movie.
And I actually I saw.
I seen you.
She played a Keaton on Family Ties.
What? Cousin?
Yeah.
A cousin?
A cousin? Maybe she was only on one episode, but she played a Keaton on Family Ties.
Well, she sure wasn't Uncle Ned.
Mm.
Yes. So we get a little bit of her backstory, and she talks about that because she's with her sister. And her sister's like, listen, you can't keep reliving, the house burned down. You could never save mom and dad. You saved me, kind of a thing. So they're like, so she's got all kinds of angst. It really doesn't amount to anything except for the fact then they cut to her having a nightmare. And when she wakes up, she's got candles lit at the foot of her bed. The windows are open and the curtains are blowing. No wonder why your family died in a fire. You caused it. You learned nothing.
So what haunts her is that she saved her sister, but not her parents, right?
Yeah, so we get that amazing exposition that really amounts to nothing.
Well, she saved somebody at least.
Well, no, I know, but it doesn't play into anything with this movie other than the fact that she's, it's like finding out that Phoebe Cates' dad died in a chimney.
Now, what came first?
Chicken or the egg?
Not the chicken or the egg, but this or Face Off. Because we get a very Face-Off reminiscent.
I want to say Face-Off was like 90.
I think maybe Face-Off was the following year, 98. But the reason I say that is because the Jinn actually rips the face off of a corpse in a morgue, and takes his face, which wraps around the Jinn's visage, so he becomes human for part of the movie. And the great thing, we were talking about,
it actually like form. So he takes on the shape of that person,
and it's the same actor playing the Jinn in costume, apparently.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
So
because you said in the earlier film, it was just interesting that they didn't use, in the case of Pandora, the same actress, but they did in this case. So he becomes Nathaniel Demarest as a human, and he is a little bit more creepy, I think, as the human than he is as the Jinn.
Than he is as the Jinn.
Yeah.
I will say that you mentioned was it the morgue, that it was good to see Carrot Top get some work again. I don't think that was Carrot Top.
Carrot Top, after the Jinn got through with him, he didn't see himself get some work again. I'll tell you that, because his eyes were glued shut.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He goes, I wish to unsee this, or I wish I never saw this, or whatever. And so then he just fuses up his eyeballs.
So the Jinn is just like taking names throughout this
and
film. He's granting wishes all over the place.
Yeah, he's just waiting. Whatever you wish for, I'm going to give you the worst possible option. You're not a nice Jinn. Yeah, some of these special effects don't really hold up that well, but we do go back to what's his name, Robert Englund's collection, and he's showing Alex like where that statue was going to go, and it was like Ahura Mazda or something was the name of the. I don't know what was going on there, but I really wanted to see like Vigo the Carpathian painting like somewhere in his collection.
Oh yeah, they could have really
awesome.
Played that up,
because there's a lot of stuff going on there, and it's like, you're bringing in all these actors or whatever. There's these little Easter eggs for monster movies or some of this horror stuff. They could have had a little more fun with some of that.
So the climax of the movie is pretty much a replay of the beginning of the movie, because the Jinn does make his way past Tony Todd after he puts him in the Houdini water tank into the party. He grants Robert Englund a wish that his party would go down in the ages as unforgettable.
Yeah.
And it certainly does, because everybody, again, breaks into mutant madness, and, everybody starts to break down and decompose right there in the party. So Alex is there because her sister is attending the party, and she's trying to get her sister out before she's a victim of the Jinn. And the Jinn is aware of this, and he's using the sister as leverage, because Alex has already stupidly asked the Jinn for 2 wishes, and now she only has 1 more left in order to unleash the Jinns upon the world.
Can I wish for 3 more wishes?
I don't think that works, because she did, one of her wishes was for the Jinn to destroy himself, and apparently that doesn't work.
That was her first 2 were, I wish to know what you are.
Because he gives her a freebie first. He says,
okay, so that's a freebie, which is what if I wished you dead, I think is what she said.
Yeah, like and so he attempts, but he can't do it because he's immortal, apparently. So then like her first real wish, I want to know what you are. And then he zaps her into the gem with him. And then, of course, there's no way for her to get out unless she wishes herself out of the gem, which she does.
I wish I was in my apartment without you.
So the end is the Jinn trying to get the 3rd wish out of Alex, which eventually does happen. Alex has to think about it. What could she wish for that's going to undo this?
I actually was very impressed with this, because he obviously, he's closed all the loopholes. So no matter what she does, she's going to be screwed. But this leads into in the what's his name, Robert Englund's collection, and all these statues start coming to life. And this I thought was very well done.
It was.
I really enjoyed this. I thought this was great.
And this, as you were saying, this is all practical, and the statues look perfect.
So like you said, when the party starts going awry and it's craziness, and I think Jack the Ripper shows up or something.
Yeah, I couldn't tell first. Is that Jekyll and Hyde? Oh,
right,
no.
Exactly.
Then he had the doctor's bag, and I'm like, that's got to be Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. So this was pretty well executed. This was actually a lot of fun to watch this. Yeah.
So, and this is all in service of Robert Englund's wish to make his party unforgettable. So it just keeps going and going and going and going until Alex finally gives in, makes the 3rd wish. And what does she wish for? That the crane operator never came to work drunk that morning.
Yeah, hadn't been drinking on the job 2 days ago. 2 days ago? This whole movie takes place in 2 days?
Yeah, apparently so.
That blew my mind. But how did she find out his name?
Yeah, Mickey Torelli. I wish that
Mickey
Mickey Torelli
like,
never
that's
shows
a very specific, yeah.
Because she was having flashbacks to reading the newspaper article about the
gotcha.
crane
Okay,
accident and seeing his name in the newspaper. That's why she knew his name.
And I actually had to write a note. He's the dumbass that dropped a steamer trunk crate for Beaumont.
Yep.
But even more impressive, because we talk about that, like we just said, this whole movie takes place in 2 days. They shot this in 33 days.
She undoes the wish. And the statue never falls. Ted Raimi never gets squashed. He survives.
He's back. He probably shows up in the other 8 sequels.
Ted Raimi is yelling at Mickey, the crane operator, slow down. Oh, that's a good idea. I will slow down instead of spilling his coffee. So he slows down. The crate slowly descends. Ted Raimi does not get squashed.
No.
And the statue never breaks. So the jewel stays hidden inside the statue, and at the end you see the djinn sitting there on his throne inside the jewel, waiting for somebody to discover him.
Now, does she remember?
That is a good question. I don't know.
Is that like a timer reset?
Because at the very end you see her visit the same D-bag friend, Josh.
Oh, yes.
And she realizes that she does want to go out with him. So you never really know if she has used this to grow as a person or not. So you don't know if she remembers what happened to her.
Maybe it was explained in the other sequels.
Maybe it was. I don't know. I don't think she came back.
Because half of them are dead. Well, no, she reset everything. So none of them are dead.
None of them are
Nobody
dead.
died.
They all come back. Nobody died.
There is a 0 body count when all is said and done.
And I don't think I will be seeking out the sequels either.
No,
I have no interest in finding out what happened.
I had no interest in seeing this one.
Well, some people did see it because it was a hit back in 1997.
Well, it had to have been. If you're going to make 4 sequels, it has to be a hit.
It cost $5 million to make, and it made $15 million at the box office.
$5 million?
Yeah.
And those practical effects are pretty impressive.
And it opened at number 3 that weekend. I think I don't know. I don't remember what was number 1, but number 2 was The Game with Michael Douglas.
Oh, Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
the physical effects were very impressive. It's a bloody mess in more ways than one, but if you like this type of stuff and you've never seen it, then check it out.
Yeah,
maybe.
a half-hearted recommendation.
That's a half-hearted recommendation right there. Listen, I'm going to give it 2.5. I like Psycho.
You
Gorman
like Psycho? You see, I like
better.
this. I enjoyed this slightly more than Psycho Gorman. I would give it 3 buckets.
That's fair enough. That's still 2.5 and a 3.
And again, the Rachel hairstyle is front and center in this film.
There you go.
Front and center. Firmly in the 90s.
Yeah. Did you sit through the credits?
So you heard him at the end say, careful what you wish for.
Be careful what you wish for. Click.
Yeah.
I wish this movie was over. I just caught there was 3 crew member names, and there was Cricket, Shark, and Raven. I said, those sound like fun people to work with.
Like one name names, like Cher?
No, I think these are like crew nickmames.
Okay.
I think they had their full name, but then they just had like these
like in quotes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quotes. So there you go. Wishmaster. I wish I could unsee it.
It's too late. It's too late. Okay, so shall we get into Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Oh yes, we do need to. This is episode 2. I've watched it twice, by the way.
Twice, really?
Yeah, because I started watching it during my lunch hour on my phone, and I didn't get all the way through it. And so when I came home, I said, I just need to rewatch this from the beginning on the big screen. So that's what I did. And thank you, Disney Plus.
So we are given a bit more of John Walker. So we meet John Walker. He is not referred to as U.S. agent.
No, not at all.
He is full-on Captain America.
Yep. Episode 2, Star Spangled Man, and I liked him for all of 10 minutes, which I think they were trying to do was to make him likable, because we just get his. How come he looks like he's a good-looking guy? Why does he look so damn goofy with the cowl on?
Because the ears. I think it's because
the nose. There's a nose thing going on there as well. He doesn't have a big nose, but it just looks so pronounced. Like he looks like Carl from Up. He looks like the old man in Carl.
And no, it's the chin, it's the nose, and it's the ears. That's a deadly combination right there.
Yeah. So when he has it off, he's a handsome looking dude, but you put that headpiece on, and yeah, it's a little goofy.
On Steve Rogers, did his ear stick out?
No,
Or is this like a
no? And I think the earlier costumes, they had the wings painted, and then they just did away with them. I don't know. His costume has changed a couple times, but as opposed to the Marvel Studio, when you get the big swelling score with the opening, you get marching band basically playing the same song that Captain America was doing when he was on the USO tour. It's the same. But it's a huge marching band. He's inside this stadium. He's at his home school. They're introducing him as Captain America. He's literally on Good Morning America. You see him in the mirror going, "Good morning, America," and he's practicing. His buddy comes in and he's like, "Listen, you can't punch your way out of this one." And I'm like, all right, so we're already setting the tone that maybe this guy's got a little bit of a temper. But you get this beautiful backstory. He comes out and he's signing Captain America action figures. It's Steve Rogers action figures.
Yeah.
Why would you be signing that?
This is a very deliberate thing where Marvel is showing us that he is appropriating Captain America. And I'm sure it's a deliberate thing to have him look a little goofy in the outfit,
Yes,
hence the
correct,
ears sticking out. So that he doesn't belong, and they're trying to tell you that he doesn't belong.
And even he says as much. He's like, "Listen, because the reporter wants to label him a hero, and he's like, I'm just a guy doing a job, and I'm not trying to be Steve Rogers." And I did like the fact that the minute he says Steve Rogers, they immediately cut the Bucky watching TV.
Yeah,
and he's like, "You are no Steve Rogers."
And they also take pains to point out that he is not a super soldier either. That he's just a regular guy. He's just a regular guy that practiced a lot with the shield. And he's very good with the shield. He is extremely good with the shield.
Interesting. So so you do kind of like, all right, this he's there. He's been elevated to this job, and all he wants to do is the best ability of it. He's not replacing Steve Rogers. I am simply Captain America now.
But this is at the beginning, so you're, like you said, in the opening sequence, you're okay. You're down with this guy. He's not bad. But then as the episode goes on,
well, once he starts interacting with our two main characters, you're like, all right, this guy's
guy's got an ego.
And then his buddy too, his buddy Hoskins, who Battlestar. I had to look that one up. I did not know that there was a sidekick Battlestar.
But even Falcon is like, really? Battlestar?
Because and that's when Bucky we're jumping ahead. But that's when Bucky gets up and walks. He goes, "Stop the car. Get me out of here." Because he sees it that they're kind of playing it as a joke. That we got these cool nicknames. Now you're getting into like the boys territory kind of a thing.
Right.
These guys aren't all right, we're getting ahead.
What we didn't get in the first episode was that back and forth, that tête-à-tête between Falcon and Winter Soldier. And that's what you want. That's what I want. I want to see them together,
especially
going
when you
off
only
on
have 6 episodes.
They
So Bucky just finds his way onto the military base. And all of a sudden he's like in the hangar and he's chasing down Sam. And he's like, "Why'd you give the shield up? You knew this was going to happen." And he's like, "I didn't know this was going to happen." So, but you're right. Immediately, these two characters are already clashing. And at one point, Sam says, "It's always one of the big 3. He's like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Androids, aliens, and wizards." And he goes, "There are no wizards."
Bucky mentions Gandalf, and Sam's like, "How do you know Gandalf?"
Right. He goes, "I read the original back in 1937. It's like, all right, we get it. You're old. It's always one of the big 3. Not so much now. Now we're just homegrown terrorists. Or are they?
So we do have a run-in with the Flag Smashers again. So now Bucky and Sam are teaming up, and they have tracked down the Flag Smashers to a location.
They're in Germany, right?
They're in Germany.
Yeah, and this is you mentioned it last time, the little Captain America nod where Sam drops out the back of the plane.
Yep.
And so Bucky tags along, and it's just them staring at each other. And every time Sam kind of shifts a little bit, then Bucky like shifts and he's like, are you just going to stare at me? Is this what you do now? What's the plan? You don't have a plan.
Right.
He goes, "I have a plan." Yeah, well, what's the plan?
Because Sam doesn't want Bucky's help necessarily.
Of course not.
And so Sam jumps out of the plane with his Falcon gear, and Bucky is like looking for a shoe. Okay, where's your shoe?
We don't have any. Yeah.
We don't have any. I guess I don't need one.
Oh, they were only 200 feet off the ground. That's what the guy said. He says the shoe's not going to help you.
Yeah.
So why? I mean, all right, we know he has vibranium arm now, but why did he feel the need to rip his sleeve off just so he can see his arm? Look at this, Python. It's not yours. Your
The
boy
sleeve will just
chill.
get in the way of the arm shielding my fall.
So Bucky jumps out of the plane a la Rambo and uses the arm to shield himself in the land. And of course, he's laying flat on his back. And you just hear Sam going, "Oh no, Redbird shows up."
Yep.
And he goes, "You know, I have that all on tape, right?" So right there, it just
and
Redbird's like chirping around him or whatever, and he's swatting at it. Redbird, my favorite character.
Redbird bites it in this, unfortunately.
Redbird down. This is almost as bad as Razor Crest going out.
Oh,
This was, and we haven't even been exposed to Redbird long enough to like him.
I know.
Like,
So we do get another major action sequence in the second episode. The Flag Smashers are loading a truck with what looks like vaccine serum. Maybe it's the super soldier serum.
Yeah, or COVID.
So they load 2 trucks worth of it. Redbird sees through the truck at what's in there, and they see a person sitting amongst all this cargo. So they assume that it's a hostage. It turns out to be the head or the lead Flag Smasher who's guarding the stuff in the back of the truck.
She looks like, I don't know if this is, do you remember in Solo, the girl Enfys Nest? I don't know if it's the same actress, but she's small, spunky little girl with freckles and curly hair.
This was the same Flag Smasher from episode 1. That beat that guy up, right?
Yes.
So because the long hair.
Does the same to Bucky.
Yeah.
That little girl kicked your ass.
Yeah.
But this is a nice fight sequence on the top of the 2 trucks. Why he felt the need to jump to break into the front truck? Because now the guy behind him sees him.
Yeah, the guy.
Why not just break into the truck behind you, regardless of the fact that you think that there's a hostage in that one? Break into the back truck so you know what it is that they're actually transporting.
Right.
Go from there. Whatever. So he gets thrown around, and for whatever reason, there's a car that just can't get by them. So he's constantly on the side of the road, or he's behind, and Bucky ends up in the windshield like twice.
Hey, that guy's got to get to work. He doesn't care what's going on these trucks.
I hate when trucks do that, by the way. They do it on purpose. But we do get a White Wolf callback, which I thought was nice.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, "Look at you. Spend a little time in Wakanda, you become a White Panther." He goes, "Actually, it's White Wolf." I was like, "Oh, callback."
Before the truck sequence is done, we get the new Captain America sticking his nose in where it doesn't belong.
Yeah.
So this is where we start to not like him.
Because they were tracking him through Redbird. He goes, "You tracking me?" He goes, "Government property, buddy."
Yep.
I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. And again, I mean, he holds his own for having no superpowers.
I know where the Falcon and the Winter Soldier get thrown off the truck, and he stays for a little while, and then he gets his ass handed to him as well.
Yep. Battlestar goes flying, so he has to use the shield, save his ass. Carly is the leader of the Flag Smashers.
After this action sequence, we also get the big reveal, the introduction of Isaiah Bradley into this show.
Yeah, I don't know who Isaiah Bradley is.
I didn't, because as we said last week, you had mentioned that you weren't a big fan of the Captain America books, and neither was I have to admit. I was not a reader of Captain America. So these are characters that were a big part of his series. And apparently Isaiah Bradley was part of a secret government test to make more super soldiers for the Korean War while Cap was on ice himself. But according to the books, you don't hear this in the show, but there were 300 African-American test subjects, and only 5 survived in the comic books, and one of them being Isaiah Bradley. And he does say in the show that he was jailed for 30 years by the government while they did tests on him. He doesn't want to hear anything that these 2 guys have to say, understandably so.
No, but do you also get the sense that maybe he is the source of where they got the super serum from? If that is, because it is the Flag Smashers. I mean, Bucky and Sam are both like, those were super soldiers. We just got our asses handed to us by a bunch of Captain Americas. Because Bucky's like, "All right, you need to go talk to somebody." And Sam's like, "How come no one ever brought this guy up? Why has no one ever mentioned him? That there was another Captain America, or at least a somebody at that level." And Bucky's like, "Listen, the guy's been through enough. I didn't want to, let him be."
Yeah.
So, but he was not too happy to see them, even though the kid reluctantly let him in. And the kid, apparently, and I can't take credit for this, is the character who may or may not one day become Patriot in Young Avengers.
Really?
That's what I heard. We also get a Black Falcon reference, which was played for laughs. A little kid on the street. He's like, "Hey, it's a Black Falcon."
That's what my dad calls you.
That's just Falcon. He goes, "Black because I'm black?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "All right, I guess you're a black kid then." But there's this, so there's a little bit going on here because as they leave Isaiah's house, they're kind of getting into each other's face in the street, and the cops come along and immediately assume that black guy is harassing a white guy, and that was very kind of disheartening. And you know what?
Because the one cop has to whisper to the other, "They're Avengers."
Yeah. So, and then they said, "Oh yeah, by the way, Bucky, there's a warrant out for your arrest." No, he was pardoned for that. I don't know. He missed his court mandated.
So it is
session.
Bucky. It is Bucky that ends up in the police car, but the whole scene just kind of punctuates the disservice that was done to Isaiah.
Yeah.
And his fellow soldiers,
and continues to happen.
Yeah.
But the therapist shows up, and she's like, demands that the two of them take therapy like right then and there. Sam's like, "I got things to do." She goes, "That was not a request." So they're and it's just full on Riggs, Murtaugh, Lethal Weapon, lovers quarrel. And it's pretty funny. It's played.
It is, and then that's one of the highlights of this show. Is the relationship between the two characters. She wants them
to get close, and they're literally like scissoring legs.
Right.
Getting closer. And then they're just sitting there. She goes, Are you having a staring contest? Like, you're children.
Yeah.
Like 4 years old. But then Bucky kind of breaks out a little bit. He says, and he says, why did you give up the shield? Cap trusted you. And if he was wrong about you, he may be wrong about me. Yeah. And that says a lot about this character, that he is questioning who and what he is right now. And the fact that if Captain America made the wrong decision in giving Sam that shield, then what other bad mistakes has he made?
Right.
That was very interesting. That was very revealing.
Or do you think that Bucky is a little jealous now that Cap didn't give him the shield?
Oh, absolutely.
That he thinks that I would have done the right thing with the shield.
I think that he probably at that point in time would have rejected it as well.
But it ends with them going to Zemo. They think that Zemo has information about these super soldiers.
Yeah. So off to Slovakia. So yeah, I don't. It was good. Good episode. It's nice to see only 2 episodes in, we at least got them together.
Right.
So
right. And only 4 left. Again, only 6 episodes.
we're already half empty full. It's like, oh, there's only 4 left.
And I was, calculating this is going to be done in mid to late April, and then we have to wait 2 months for Loki,
whatever. We got Kong versus Godzilla coming up.
Yes, we do.
We got to backtrack one more thought, which was when we Carly and the Flag Smashers, and they go to the safe house. She's getting these text messages, or she's getting something that says, "You took what was mine." There was a note. So who do you think they stole it from? Is there yet another bad guy involved in this, like a top tier? Like, if we're bringing in Zemo might actually be on our side helping these guys out.
I wonder how they're going to play that, if like a Hannibal Lecter type situation with Zemo. Hopefully he's not stuck in jail for the entire run of the
I was going to say,
show.
yeah, because we left him in jail.
Yeah.
So that's where he is, just waiting. So I was just a side note. I wasn't really sure. It sounds like they stole it from somebody.
I envision like some kind of wacky prison release program where they agree to hand over Zemo to Bucky and Sam, and
to rehabilitate him.
They have wild adventures together. From
they
this
could,
point on.
Yeah. And then they just all go to therapy,
like Joe Pesci with
Lethal Weapon. So there you go. Yeah, that was a good episode.
Yeah,
very happy with it.
So again, bringing up Godzilla versus Kong. This is what we're going to be covering next week, and our co-feature with Godzilla versus Kong.
Maybe inspired. I don't know. Maybe gotta cleanse the palate from the.
So rather than go for the obvious, another Godzilla movie or another.
Oh, we're keeping
movie.
those. Those are special now. Those Godzilla movies.
Yeah. We only bring those up at certain times of the year, or certain occasions. But for this show, we are not doing another Godzilla movie. But we tried to really go and think of another bigger than life pairing that might hold its own with Godzilla versus Kong. And Would you like to announce what we've
I
come up
don't.
with?
Yes, we did. I don't know what year this is. I did not write down the year. We'll know by next week. But it is Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, with pretty much all of the Universal monsters minus the Gill Man. He does show up in one of their TV specials, I think, but not.
Oh,
in this
really?
movie.
Okay.
Yeah, there's actually. I'll find a link for you. Yes.
Probably the most iconic Abbott and Costello movie, and one of the most iconic Universal monster movies that there is.
Yeah,
I have to
yeah.
say.
And I think this was after the heyday of the Universal monsters.
Very much so. So they were not as in the forefront in popular culture as they were probably a decade before this movie came out. So it goes to show something that they were being largely played for laughs at that point. It was already going into self-parody with Universal, but it's beloved anyway. This is one of the ones I would always look forward to, because in the New York area, every Sunday morning they would play
Sunday afternoon movie.
Sunday afternoon movie. They would play an Abbott and Costello movie on
WPIX. Yep, Channel 11.
And I would be looking every week at the TV guide. Maybe they're going to play Meets Frankenstein. Maybe they're going to play Meets Frankenstein.
I am very familiar with most of Abbott and Costello's work. And there was one movie, and I'm going to have to research it even further, that I have very specific memories of that does not exist. So I can only guess that maybe it was like a Bowery's Boy or even a Marx Brothers movie. And
so you're thinking something was Abbott and Costello that is not.
Yeah, correct.
Actuality.
Yeah, and I have very specific memories of the characters, their names, and the situations that they're in. I'll bring it up next week.
Okay.
But it is not an Abbott and Costello movie, and I have no clue what it is.
So maybe one of our listeners will be able to tell us.
Maybe, but you're right. PIX on Sunday mornings, man. That was it. Abbott and Costello.
Yeah, and did they actually call it the Sunday afternoon movie?
I don't know if that's the fact. I just wrote that down. That looks right, but
rather than Abbott and Costello Theater or something, because really that's all they played.
Laurel and Hardy every now and again. Babes in Toyland would just show
Babes in Toyland, Christmas time, right? Babes in Toyland.
True. Yes. I actually started just following WPIX on Instagram.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
really?
And on their Facebook page, they have, and then they'll bring up like old, bumper clips and ads in the TV guide or in the local newspaper. It's a little trip down memory lane. There you go. So do we have to cleanse our palate with this Wishmaster Gorman? And are we thankful that Christina was not a part of this? So that she could tear
she spared herself.
She was
this
spared.
episode.
She was very spared, especially the Gorman.
We got it off our chest. It was something we needed to cover.
I know, because like you guys were just sick of me bringing it up. It's a new movie.
It certainly is. All right. So should we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Speak next week. Cannot wait.
Yes.
Godzilla versus Kong.
Hopefully you out there can get to the theater and do it safely.
And then listen along with us. See if we feel the same way you did about it.
Oh, I'm sure. What's not to like about it?
I already like it.
Me too. I love it. Maybe my favorite movie of the year.
5 buckets already.
I'm getting about 5.5 buckets.
I'm starting at 5, and I'm going to work my way back.
Oh, expectations are high. All right, man. Always a pleasure. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. If you liked the podcast you just heard, then please follow TMI on all of our social media outlets. First and foremost, email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. That is tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
And you can follow us on Twitter at TMI_podcast2018. Stop over, say hi, give us a compliment. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well, which is also TMI_podcast2018.
And of course, we are on Facebook, facebook.com/TMI Podcast 2018. And it should be noted, we also have a community page, so join the forum.
And if you like to watch YouTube, you can see us at TMI Podcast 2018, all one word. Look for the popcorn bucket.
Popcorn bucket. Or you could just go to our website, which has every link there, TMIconfessionalspodcast.com. And we'll see you at the concession stand.
We'll save some popcorn for you.
You got any jujubes with that?